there's no better place to be during a New York City summer heat wave than the waterfront. And right now we are at the street end of Grand Street at Grand Ferry Park, which is waterfront access in a beloved New York City park to the Williamsburg community. And I'm kind of worried about the plants today, given how hot it is. But we're actually here today not to talk about Grand Ferry, but we're gonna go right next door to one of my favorite parks in Williamsburg, Domino Park. They have been open for a few years now, filled with programming and gardens. And I want to come over here and kind of look at their map that they have, because they are an interesting kind of linear park located on the East River. We are going to be taking a tour of Domino Park today, one of the gems of North Brooklyn. And so we wanted to check out some of these plants, and we wanted to talk to Nate, who's probably just as worried as I am about how the plants are faring in this 100-degree weather. So let's see.
This is the third year, so these are probably about, they're probably 12 to 15-year-old trees, what you're getting here.
So when you first planted them 3 years ago here,
Little.
How big do you think they were?
Half the size.
Half the size.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
And of course, the benefit of evergreen is that it's green during the winter, and when you're in an industrial area like Greenpoint, Williamsburg,
Absorbs toxins.
Yeah.
Yep.
Always
absolutely.
important.
Definitely.
So you mentioned bees. Let's go check those out.
Let's do it.
And while we're walking over there, how big is Domino Park?
So Domino Park is about 5 acres of space, and if you include the road, I think it's like 6 acres.
Uh-huh.
We have 175 trees, 12 different species of trees. We have over 30,000 perennials, and we have over 500 shrubs throughout the park. It's I'd say 75% all natives.
Oh, really? And when you're choosing the natives, what specifically are you looking for?
I'm looking for interesting texture. I'm looking for something that's going to come back every year and be lower maintenance. Like a lot of these wild asters that are native to New York, they do fantastic.
Right.
As well as we have many native ferns. I'm not sure if, like the sensitive fern.
Sure.
And the Christmas fern here. And so we use those mixed in to our kind of like shadier areas.
Yeah, can you actually talk about the benefits of ferns? Because we have so many that were planted at Under the K.
Yeah.
And I love them. I think they're beautiful. But can you talk about the more environmental benefit of choosing a fern?
Yeah, I mean, from I agree with you from like an ornamental perspective.
Yeah.
They're just so beautiful, and they add like that texture of that
Yeah,
woodland garden.
exactly.
That I think really softens all this industrialness.
Yeah.
Which I really love. And you know they're really special because they produce. They don't have flowers.
Right. But they have that beautiful green hue.
Yeah, yeah. And so they kind of, take people back to this prehistoric time and like being in the woodland. So I think that's where they kind of capture that magic, just like connecting people with that kind of ecology.
Exactly. Yeah. I noticed your signs keep out of plant beds. So how is that? I understand the impetus to want to keep folks out. Is that working?
Yeah,
Do you feel that people are respecting the gardens?
I think I probably have to replace about 10% of the plantings yearly due to kind of trampling or dogs in the plant beds or whatnot. But I'd say all in all, I think the park is very well respected.
Good.
By the public.
10% is not so bad.
Not so bad.
Yeah. So what are your numbers like?
So in terms of visitation,
Sure.
we've seen over 3 million visitors to the park. I think our first year in operation, we had 1.2 million visitors to the space, and that's been slowly increasing every year.
And you were here since the beginning?
That's right.
Great.
We were brought on just before the park opened in 2018. I think it was February, and we started to lay all the foundation. We put in irrigation. There's irrigation every 18 inches in the plant beds.
Happy bees?
That's right. This is our Domino Park apiary here. So we have 4 beehives. These were brought in by Andrew's Bees. He's a famous New York beekeeper.
Yes, I've heard of him.
And we wanted to do bees that we could collect honey and do programming with honey. So we'll give it back to the community through programming and different collaborations with our partners.
So how many bees do you think you have? And so you've got, I see 1, 2, 3. Where's the fourth one?
The fourth one is down over here.
Okay, so you have 4 hives. How many bees do you have?
That's a great question. Per hive, I'm not sure. I know that they are Italian bees, and one interesting thing about them is they're the more docile bee, so they won't kind of cause problems in a public space. You want to be conscious of
aggressive bees.
Yeah.
Not good in a public park.
I can imagine there's literally thousands per hive. I mean, there's
sure, yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot in there. And what we were told is they'll produce about 200 jars of honey per hive.
Oh wow! And so with 4 hives times 200,
Yeah,
so you'll have a lot of honey.
we will. We'll have a lot of honey.
So what are you
So
going
it's
to do
kind
with
of
this
like
honey?
Domino sugar
I
to a new kind of sweet.
I know, I was
with
thinking
our honey,
that, yeah.
And pollinators, and I think it's just really great to see the whole transition of this whole space.
Did you actually think about that? The production of sugar, which echoes, obviously the history of the site as a major sugar producer of Domino Factory?
We did, but that wasn't the main thing was to bring in pollinators, but that was kind of a secondary kind of thing that kind of came in and kind of worked for us.
Extra context,
Yeah.
No, it's a good story.
We have little trays up top here, and that's people don't know that in addition to the pollen from the wild asters and flowers like Veronica here that they get,
Love the name.
They also need water too.
Yeah.
So we have these little trays up here that we fill up with water for the bees to drink.
Interesting. Like a bird bath, but a bee bath. Cool.
This is a really fun plant. People might be interested in, what is that plant? I get asked that question a lot. This is euphorbia. It's called wood spurge. It's a really fun plant that actually stays evergreen.
Really?
Yeah, and it's
nice.
super hardy. It spreads like crazy. You can see these massive patches of it. It's got really interesting. This is actually the bracts of the flower here.
And so do these get bigger year after year, or do they kind of stay in their same size?
This is kind of the height, but then it just kind of will spread and kind of fill in your space. So it's another great texture because look how
with
it
the ferns,
contrasts with the ferns and with the native grasses. This is actually Cecillaria autumnalis. This is one of the most hardy native grasses. It's really great.
Yeah, no, I like this grass because sometimes we have trouble with our yeah.
So it's one of my favorites. I'm using it in tree pits too because it seems to be holding up to.
Tree pits are no joke. Yeah, they're very difficult. We've been actually thinking about that. Maybe putting together some guidelines for street trees in the neighborhood.
That would be great.
Because when I assume with you what you've done here is you think about the seasons. When are things going to bloom? What color are they going to be? How can you keep that diversity of texture and pollination and color and aesthetics kind of throughout the year?
Absolutely.
And this is kind of on quite a large scale, but how can we bring that down to a smaller scale?
So with 30,000 different perennials, we're almost
30,000.
We're almost guaranteed to have something in bloom at all times. And so that's another thing. It's like all about diversity, right? So diversity. The more diverse plants, the more different flowers you're going to have.
Right. And then also the more diverse bees.
So we're literally creating a habitat here.
Of course.
On the waterfront.
Yeah. And if you don't know, this is the waterfront. This is the East River. So we're approaching the Williamsburg Bridge.
See how we're kind of a little bit higher than some of the other piers from the river?
Yes.
We're really elevated here. We're actually about 15 feet above the 100-year floodplain. And during the planning of Domino Park was right after Sandy. And so we actually could see the water levels and could use that to kind of determine how high to build the deck. And so
originally maybe it was lower in earlier concepts. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of, obviously Sandy had impact, mitigating the next surge and that's, when you're talking about creative net, need more so that you don't necessarily stop the water, but you can absorb it and stop it before it actually spreads into the neighborhood and causes damage. So
you guys come to our playground?
Yes. So for those folks who know me, I'm also a local mom. So I do bring my 2 boys here. This is one of their favorite playgrounds. And so part of the reason why they love it is because it's not like other playgrounds. It looks very different. So Nate, can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at and why you chose this design?
Yeah, so this was a Mark Riegelman designed playground, local Brooklyn artist, and he designed it to mimic the sugar making process.
What?
So you see this over here, it's kind of like a little house. So traditionally the boats would come in with a raw sugar cane and they would dock right here. Those cranes used to be closer toward the river. We actually had to offset them back for the park.
Oh, interesting.
And they would unload the raw sugar to a massive warehouse, which you can still see the 22 columns of right here.
Yep.
And then,
so just to reiterate, so
yeah.
those columns, what we were looking at, that almost looks like, you know, the scaffolding, that is the original structure of the original Domino factory.
Of the warehouse that housed the raw sugar.
That housed the raw sugar,
Yep,
right. Where, you know, as a former arts person, where the Kara Walker sugar baby was.
This is right where the Kara Walker sugar baby was, right in here.
Right, yes.
Yep. And so right now, the kids come in to the old, this is like a little play on the raw sugar warehouse. So they come in raw, kind of unrefined, and then as they go through the silos, they kind of come out the other end down the slide sweet as sugar.
That were always true every time.
The silos are actually kind of a little, you know, kids will get, you know, it's like it teaches you to, it challenges a kid to kind of survive in an urban space.
Right.
They're kind of tight and they're kind of challenging. So it's a unique playground from that perspective as well, that it's actually
fostering
kids.
Independent play and sort of separation, because oftentimes you feel attached and sometimes parents don't want to be so attached.
Right.
So would you say we're about halfway between the 5-acre?
Yeah, so we started at Grand Street. That was kind of the passive side of the park. Now we're kind of transitioning to the more active side, where the playground, we have the Danny Meyer Tacocina. We have a few plants I'd like to point out around here as well.
Oh, please do.
Yeah. So this is just getting ready to bloom right here. This is Eupatorium hyssopifolium.
Hey.
Yeah. It's a hyssop scented.
Can you smell?
It's got a kind of
Yeah.
got a really nice aroma, and it has these white kind of umbel flowers that kind of fill in, and it just makes this beautiful pattern coming up through the native grasses. This is a little blue stem, Schizocarium. You can see on this one, see the blue color?
Yeah, no,
almost
it's
like
gorgeous.
blue purple.
So is this the same grass as this, but a slightly different variety, or is it?
It is. Look at how purple that one is.
Oh wow.
They all, you know, just like people, plants are all unique too, and that's how you get those cultivars, right? It's like, oh man, this one's super purple, so maybe I'll divide this one, select it, and maybe I'll get a new cultivar.
You know, I hate to say it, but it kind of looks like a firework. So given this weekend, this weekend's 4th of July, and you know, we want to make sure everyone stays safe this weekend along Brooklyn's waterfront.
Are you familiar with the serviceberry, Juneberries?
Yes, we have a couple of those. Actually, a fair amount of them at Under the K. And there's some at Transmitter Park. And
this is an Amalak here. This is a cultivar called Autumn Brilliance, and it looks like it's still June, but it's kind of the end.
Right.
The end of the berries. But this is the little. Oops. Let me try to get you a. The birds love these things.
Yeah.
The birds really get them. I think they're kind of just about faded.
Yeah. Well, we had a couple of these. They were really kind of prolific maybe about 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes.
But would you eat these?
I would.
From grown here?
I would. And we actually we were wondering what we could do in addition to kind of just, you know, having staff snack on them. So we actually...
Make a little serviceberry pie.
We did that too.
Get out of town!
But then we also decided to collaborate with Mom and Ice Pops, the ice
No
creamer.
way!
And we made a Domino Park Juneberry Pop this year.
No way! That's so cool!
And
Well,
the
no wonder
kids
there are no
loved
more
it.
berries on the trees.
Yeah, the kids absolutely loved it.
Oh my goodness, that's such a good story.
Let's see. So many plants to talk about. A good one for fixing nitrogen is the Baptisia. This is a good plant, a complementary plant to plant in your beds because it actually will fix nitrogen because it's a legume in the Fabaceae family.
Can you talk about that? What does that mean, fixing nitrogen, and why would someone want to do that?
Yeah, so plants need 3 main nutrients, right? Nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. So nitrogen is what makes plants green. Okay? And so what this plant does is it has these little, in its roots, it has these little nodules that fix nitrogen in the soil. So it's like, and other plants around it can benefit from that.
And when you say they're legumes, is this also edible?
This is not that tasty. This is more of an ornamental, but yes, it is a bean. Just like it's in the same family as other beans.
Do you find that any animals are eating them? Is it a favorite of birds or?
Yeah, you can see it when the seed pods open. Birds will come in and pick these out. And I can actually harvest these and sow them and kind of spread the plants around that way too.
Do you actually have a little kind of quasi-nursery here on site?
We do. We have a small site kind of back by our compost facility, which I hope to get to show you. And over there we do plant propagation from the park.
Oh, that's amazing. So do you ever give any of those plants from your nursery out to the community?
We do. We work with Lasaurus, and they have a number of community gardens, and we provide compost and plant material for them.
Yeah, I love your compost program, and I hope that we get a chance to get there, in part because it serves so many community organizations.
Absolutely.
These are gorgeous. What am I looking at here?
Oh, this is called Eryngium.
Say that again?
Eryngium.
Eryngium.
Yeah. It's commonly known as sea holly.
Is it spiky?
It's a little spiky. Yeah. It doesn't look like something that would be growing under the sea or something.
The color is gorgeous.
Yeah. I love it with echinacea kind of mixed in.
It almost looks intentional.
Yeah, so this is kind of, a good example of kind of a naturalistic wildflower garden, right?
Right.
So we started with like a base mix. We do little plots of perennials, and then we kind of let them bleed together, and that's kind of how you get your matrix.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it also almost looks like phosphorescent.
Yeah, so we put in the pockets of perennials. Well, first we put in the trees, then we do the pockets of perennials, and then all the leftover space we fill in with grasses. And that's kind of how we get our basic kind of layout.
And how many grass varieties do you think you might have?
I think we have about 50.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, we even have this neon. This is a neon.
Yeah, that's beautiful color.
It's actually not a true grass. As you can tell, it's a sedge, and they're more of an aquatic type grass. They're in the same family, the Poaceae family, as other grasses.
Interesting.
But this one has a really nice kind of limey, kind of neon color. It's really beautiful. One of my favorites.
Making a distinction between plants, especially if you have 50 different types of grasses with weeds. So how many people are on your staff, and how do they know the difference?
That's a great question. Yeah, so sometimes I would have like 5 people weeding for me at a time. We don't have gardeners per se. We have what we call our park ambassadors.
Interesting.
And we have about, I think, 14 full-time team members.
Wow.
And that they kind of divide up their time. It's like part ranger, part gardener, kind of part programming, education stuff.
Right. All hands on deck all the time.
Right. And so I think, so instead of having like a gardener or like, custodial team or like these different teams, we kind of compile it all into one position we call Park Ambassador.
Okay.
And then it gives the staff a variety of things to do.
And you train them.
And we train them in-house.
That's amazing. Well, it looks like these kids are having a good old time.
Yeah, this is probably the most popular spot in Domino Park. It's right at the base of the old refinery here. And
now I love this water feature because, and you can't really see because it's obviously midday right now, but there are lights at the bottom. So, at dusk and in evening time, the water actually is,
it illuminates
puts on a light show.
In beautiful patterns, so different light shows that we program in. There's 88 water jets, and you can actually see the LEDs when the water's coming down there that come on. And this is a great space because we can use it for a number of different things. We can use it for activations. We can use it for art installations. We can use it for salsa in the park.
I mean, I have to say, Nate, this was the place where I had last summer was the only place I saw live performance because y'all had the NY Phil bandwagon impromptu show up, and so we were able to sit there.
Wasn't that magical?
It was. It was like, because I usually go to live performances, and during the pandemic, everything was shut off. So that was such a wonderful surprise last summer when no one knew what was really happening. But
Absolutely. Another fun fact about the seating area here, the seating bench, that's all pine that was reclaimed and repurposed from the refinery.
oh, get out of town! I don't think I knew that fun
we
fact.
also have, have you seen, there's little hidden USB ports where you can charge your phone.
Oh! Fun facts and secrets of Domino Park. You can charge your phone at the wooden steps. Take note. And so I also I've heard about how successful the salsa program is. And that's a partnership with El Puente or no?
I think it's a separate partner.
Because I know they worked with you on your murals on River Street.
Oh yeah, they do fantastic murals.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did a mural for essential workers with them. We also did a larger mural over by Tacocina.
Right, yeah, because their cadre program is phenomenal. And so what is this? I all of a sudden feel cool. Where am I walking right now?
So this is what we call the pier reveal. So this is
pier
So
reveal,
remember how I was
okay.
talking about that resilience aspect and how we elevated kind of above that floodplain?
Yes.
Well, you can look down. You can actually see the original piles. That was the original height of the deck.
Oh, I see. So this is the original deck, and then you increased it by 15 feet, and this is what you were talking about before.
Yeah. So these are the old piles. And it's
Right.
called a pier reveal because you kind of look down into the river.
Right.
People have been using it as kind
As
of
a
like
wishing
a wishing
well.
well.
Yeah,
which
no,
is
I
kind
love
of
it.
Fun. If you have some scuba gear, you might want to come back and some snorkeling around here.
And I notice this sign here, Billion Oyster Project. So can you
Yeah.
is that active right now?
It's completely active. You can see see this rope here tied to the pier. So
This
there's
rope right here?
Yes. And this is a trial to see. I think what we'd like to do is working with Billion Oyster to do oysters under the entire pier.
Oh wow.
And so right now we're just doing a trial to kind of see if the tide is the right kind of. They need like a little bit of a calmer water. So we're testing that to see because the currents are very strong here.
Sure.
And so we're testing to see if this will be a successful place to grow oysters
And
under the pier.
why on earth would you want to grow oysters here?
Because they're amazing for the river in terms of water quality and cleaning the river. I think each oyster can filter like 8 gallons of water a day.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and we've been doing water sampling and doing water tests, and what we've been finding is that the water is pretty much safe to swim in here now.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what people say. That's what people say. And I mean, I totally agree that, the river and the creek are open space where people should be able to access. And so I'm super excited that the East River is getting cleaned up.
Absolutely.
Newtown Creek is next on the list.
Yay.
Maybe it'll take a little longer, but no, it'll be so exciting when we can all better utilize our waterways.
Absolutely.
What's going on here? What are these large stacks?
So we have over 30 artifacts in the park that we actually pulled from around this space and incorporated that into it. I think when you do that, it provides a sense of place, to
Sure.
have these artifacts kind of mixed in. And these are actually 600-gallon, 30-foot high sugar tanks. So as a byproduct of the sugar industry, they would make this molasses-like kind of sugar liquid substance, and they would store it in these tanks.
Oh, wow.
And I think eventually they figured out how to repurpose that into making things like sugar pills.
Interesting.
And also to flavor liqueurs and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So it was actually a byproduct of the refining process that was then stored in these tanks.
Yeah, and now they're kind of a beautiful, recollection of that
rusty-
process, but then
yeah.
it's just, not to its
We're
historical
like, should we
past.
paint them? Should we just let them rust? Look at the it's all rusted. Isn't that
Right.
look nice?
Right.
I love the
It's steel,
textures.
yeah? It's like a
Yeah.
Corten steel.
It is. It is.
Yeah, and I've seen you do art installations on these. So I saw, was it last fall you did some sort of Lego
We did.
installation, and then
Yeah, there
more
was
recently
a
that Pride mural?
a new Lego product. Dots came out, and they actually wrapped these whole tanks in Legos. It was really cool.
Yeah, no, I saw. It was
Yeah.
amazing. That's so exciting. It's just like a new canvas that's kind of three-dimensional and
Yeah. You
just
can
more opportunity for installations.
Yeah, and you can see it from all the angles and all the sides. You're playing volleyball here, so we're transitioning to more of the active side of the park here.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. And one thing I've always noticed about Domino and your design is it's not a lot of space.
Yeah.
You know, or I should say maximize the program uses
Right.
as much as
Something for everyone.
possible.
Yep. We have a dog run. We have a flex field that you could play soccer in. You could lay out. You could have a small picnic. You could play volleyball. There's just so many different uses here in Domino Park. We have two bocce courts over here.
Right. And so the other use is the composting, right? And so one of the things I hope you can show us is this amazing in-house composting
Oh yeah, I'd be happy to show you that.
process, because composting has been really big in the city recently, sort of community-based composting, because as we all know, during the pandemic, the city's composting was kind of just shut down kind of rather immediately. And so a lot of community organizations have come up to try to fill in that gap of service. Of course, you were thinking about this beforehand, but I saw this about a year ago and I thought it was absolutely amazing. So tell us about the rocket.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is our in-vessel. It's 900 liters, about
May I?
500 gallons. Please.
Can I touch it?
You can.
Is it hot?
It's not hot because it's insulated with two. Actually, this is the hatch for the rocket. So I'm not going to take you to the moon, but so you can feel how hot it is inside, actually, and see the process.
Whoa. Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? Like a sauna with the
Yeah.
wood.
Twice a week, and what we do is we collect.
And where are your food scrap drops?
Right here.
Okay.
We set up a tent, and see these buckets here? We use these bins. We've set these out, and people can come and drop their food scraps off Monday and Thursday.
Okay.
Here's kind of the hours of operation. It's an early AM for Monday, and then if you're working a 9 to 5, you can't make that Monday. We have a Thursday option for you to come drop your
nice.
food scraps off. This is what we're currently accepting. So the rocket's kind of vegan, it's vegetarian, doesn't take meat.
It's particular.
Or citrus.
Right.
Citrus just doesn't break down well.
Right.
So we ask people to separate
And I
the
assume
citrus
no
out.
meat too.
Right.
Meat's always a little tricky with community composting.
Yeah. And so the basic process is we put a 50-50 ratio mix of food scraps and wood chips. So
Where do you get your wood chips?
So 1 bucket of wood chips and 1 bucket of food scraps at a time, and we feed the rocket slowly, like 3 meals a day.
Oh wow.
Yes.
And do you do that?
Myself and our park ambassadors also are involved with the process.
So then it goes in here and it takes about 14 days. And
That's
that's
right.
an expedited composting process.
It
'Cause
is.
how long does it usually take to compost?
Usually composting can take anywhere from 2 to 6 months to a year.
Wow.
In the open. So this really maximizes the process because it's in a climate-controlled vessel that has 4 different zones inside.
Amazing.
There's these stainless steel. There's actually a window in the end. I'm not sure if you can see in or not.
Now, can I get one of these guys? Like, how does one get a rocket?
You can. We got ours through the Food Waste Experts. It's a company that actually procures it. It's actually, they make these in the UK and they're shipped over.
Yeah.
Bag here. So then, and we fill up one of these every 2 to 3 days.
Oh, wow.
So it's constantly churning compost out.
Is this like about a ton?
It's a lot. Yeah, it's pretty heavy.
And so that's obviously a lot of compost. What are you
Yeah.
doing with it?
So we not only do we use it on our gardens because we're an all organic garden, but we give it back to the community. So we give it back to our community partners like El Puente and Las Soras. We also sift the product, and then anyone who comes and
That's
drops off their food
beautiful.
scraps can take compost home.
Yeah.
So that's immediate gratification, right?
And anyone who's gardening knows how important nutrient-rich compost is to help keep our plants happy. And
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
it's really important. And so, are you familiar with the North Brooklyn Compost Project?
Yeah.
They also have some drop-offs. Although I think right now they're taking their stuff to big reuse
Right.
over in Queens. But
Yep.
this is amazing. And so, is this just for the community, just in perpetuity, or is this just a for now kind of thing?
This is in perpetuity. We're dedicated. We've been running for over a year. Monday and Thursday, rain, snow, holiday, we've been here, and we are super dedicated to operating this site in perpetuity.
Amazing. Well, I can't think of any other program that you could possibly do because we just went through dozens of them. So congratulations on a diverse program.
Thanks for coming to Domino Park.
Of
It's
course.
Great to have you.
So everyone there, thank you for joining Nate and me on this special edition of Ask a Gardener, where we did a tour of Domino Park and learned about all of their programs and history and gardens. So join us next Wednesday, 12:30 here at NBK Parks.